Hello, welcome to TrueHoop Tactics with me, Jarod Hector, where we go inside the big basketball brain of Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
Well, for all my life, people made fun of the size of my head. It's nice that someone's going to say something nice about my brain. Normally, it's just my gigantic fucking head, including my mom on my birthday talked about my gigantic head. Thanks, Mom. But yeah, I have watched the game for a long time. Excited to talk to you, but we have some cool things to talk about today.
We sure do. So last night, the early game on the TNT doubleheader was the Philadelphia 76ers at the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks won that game 133-126. They hit 25 of 48 three-pointers. The Mavericks did, shot 52%. Now, I've been hanging around David a long time, and I know David tells me things like, some teams shoot 53s and they make half of them. You ain't beating them that game. And that's really what happened, right? It was just, and in that third quarter especially, the Mavericks maybe missed one three-pointer in that third quarter. Everybody was making everything. I was like, well, tonight's not your night.
Yeah, I mean, so Philly made a choice in that game where we saw this with Boston versus Golden State in the first four games of the finals, where they want to leave Embiid closer to the rim. And so Dallas did some nice actions where they screened for Kyrie, or where Kyrie had the ball, Kyrie didn't have the ball, and they used some almost like a wide pin action to curl for three with Embiid's guy, knowing that Embiid would hang back. And Kyrie made a bunch. Luka, his three-point shots, I think, were harder than Kyrie's by choice. That's just how Luka plays. Step back, fade away, that kind of thing. He shot great. Reggie Bullock's three mostly came from what was going on offensive with the other two main guys.
Yep.
And just no one's beating Dallas in those situations. The only difference would be a better defensive team than Philly last night. It wasn't a postseason game, so they didn't try to doctor anything up. But if you change the way you guard Dallas so that Kyrie doesn't get those open looks at the rim as easily, or Luka is pressed harder at the point of attack and he has to drive, they might still beat you. It just will be a different way. But Philly wasn't going to change what they do systemically, for a Thursday night game in early March.
Right. No, and you're so right. And this is, one of the reasons why we always make the statement, and that's not us, but everyone knows it. Playoff basketball and regular season basketball are not the same thing, right? No. When you've got 4 games in 7 nights or 3 and 5, whatever the situation may be, it's just not the same thing. Like I say this all the time. You walk into a locker room pregame in the regular season, there's like 3 bullet points on the whiteboard. Keep whoever in front of you, right? Just very basic. Okay, I got it. Playoffs, the video and scout team, they give these guys binders full of info about these are all their pet plays. Here's our counter to the pet play. Here's where we want to push them. You don't have time to do that in the regular season, right? But in a series where I know 7 games max, okay, these are what we're going to do, and here are our counters.
I live in Florida, as you know, and have been at Disney World a lot. And it's been some years since I've gone because my kids are 21 now. Our twins are 21. There was a period of time we were going a lot when they were young. But it might have been a year in between visits. And so we would go the first day, and Disney World seemed big when we first go back in there. Where was this place? And, we our kids didn't even have cell phones when we first started going. So my wife would maybe take Max, and I would take Rachel somewhere. We'll meet up at such and such time. And it took me about a day to just remember where every nook and cranny, every restroom, because they were in diapers and whatever.
Yeah.
By day 2, I knew that place cold. This is what we're talking about here. When the Mavericks just played a game, lost to Indiana.
Yep.
They're playing another game in a day or two, if not even tonight. I haven't looked. And so Philly's just a Disney World for a day.
Right.
They've got a lot of challenging obstacles to deal with, and then we got to move on to the next one, and vice versa. Philly do the same thing with Dallas. So a playoffs game series is just so different. You get really comfortable. You know what's coming. You know the misdirections. You know the reads that they're going to make and how players are going to respond to certain things. And so you can get comfortable digging in, especially defensively, I think.
And especially in the early rounds of the playoffs, you sometimes get 2 days break in between, so you can make adjustments to new things on the fly, right? It's like, oh, we saw them run this new wrinkle. Great. Here's what we're going to tinker now to adjust that, right? Regular season, no one's thinking about any of that. Like, you just want to be healthy and get to the next game.
And you can defend different actions different ways, quarter to quarter to quarter, because you may have tried something in first half of game 1, and then maybe try to something different in the second half of game one. And now both of those things are something you've done before and you've practiced it. The guys are aware of it. So I can do both of them in the first quarter of game two. And maybe there's a third thing I try in the second half of game two. Now I have 3 different ways to guard certain actions first quarter of game three. Let me see how they respond to things. Let me see how my team responds to things. That doesn't happen nearly as often in the regular season.
No, not at all. All right, let's look into some clips. What do we want to show the people first? And for those of you who are listening on audio, I definitely encourage you to go onto YouTube and watch the full video of this, but you can still listen to David's insightful thoughts about what he thinks teams should be doing.
Yeah, so what Philly chose to do is having Embiid hang back. And with Luka, it almost doesn't matter how you're guarding him. He can get any 3 off he wants. It's why he doesn't shoot 44% from 3 or whatever. His quality of shot is bad. In fact, I think it's the worst in the league. Yeah, don't start it just yet, Jarod. I do. I'm serious. I think I saw very recently a metric that had him having the worst shot quality in the NBA.
Wow.
Because he takes bad shots off the dribble, but he can get them off. And I think he's at 35.5% from 3. I think he'd be significantly better if he took better shots. Kyrie's a little bit different. He's only 6'2", and he's not a high flyer. He's crafty as hell now. He's not a high flyer. Elite dribbler, and that helps him. So what I like what Dallas has done is they've tried different ways to get him shots. Mm-hmm. So he can be a primary ball handler, attacker. He can be a primary ball handler, come set a screen. If Philly is going to go over the top of the screen, which means they have to hit the screen, and the big guarding the screener stays back to protect the rim, which against Kyrie, one of the best finishers of all time, maybe the best for his size, well, that allows him to shoot the 3. He also has transition options too. So it's
so good.
Yeah, let's play this first one here.
Well, before we play the Kyrie clip, and this isn't the one we're going to show, but there was a move he had, Dave, in the third quarter. Clearly, the goal is to trap him on the pick and roll, right, with big bodies, right? And as you always say, when the big timber's there, he's only 6'2". It's very hard to get around 6'10", 7-foot guys. But he's Kyrie. He's a wizard. Literally splits it with his dribble. Still a big man in the lane, was able to come up, go up and under with his reverse, and get the layup off. An extremely high difficult shot, moving at the speed he's moving at. And I'm literally like, how are you that good at basketball? I get it, but I don't get it.
So, here's what I would say to that, besides the obvious, which is he's practiced these kinds of things all the time. And I've got a bunch of stories about, guys doing that kind of stuff in my gym against the air. And I'll have high school coaches and college coaches who would come watch me work guys out. And like, what are you doing that for? And I would say, well, that's the game. The game is you got to contort yourself all sorts of different ways. You better have practice if you expect to make it in a game. But here's something I want you to think about. I'm guessing you have Instagram on your phone or had once had. And you might have seen some videos where it's like house cats versus snakes. Have you ever seen these?
Yeah.
So I watched a neuroscientist once describing it. Because the house cat always wins, right? When I say always wins, it doesn't mean the house cat can't also get bit. But the snake is trying to bite the cat off of me. I don't mean cats like living in the jungle. Right. And when I say that, I'm talking about like just on their own, feral cats. Mm-hmm. Those things are practice. The house cat doesn't have much practice. And it still is always able to bat the snake's head all the time. Same as like a mongoose versus a cobra. Mm-hmm. Well, the neuroscientist was explaining they just process it way faster. What they're seeing is much faster than what the snake is seeing and reacting to. Well, that's Kyrie Irving, right? He is just seeing things in a much slower frame, so to speak, than what the defenders are. So it's a huge advantage. It's like the advantage Secretariat had with a heart 1.5 times bigger than the average thoroughbred's heart,
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course he's going to win those races. His muscles are much more oxygenated than his opponents. Well, Kyrie is seeing things much slower than what the average human is, or even the average NBA player is, and that's a huge advantage.
All right, so we want to watch a Kyrie Irving play here?
Yeah, so I think that's is that Kleber he's throwing the ball to?
Yep, that is Maxi Kleber.
Yeah, and you see, watch how you have to replay it a couple of times here. You'll see Maxi doesn't guard him. Mm-hmm. So go back and show that again. You're going to see the other clips as to other ways. Look at the score here. There's 5. It's a 5-point game, 8 to play. We got a ball game here.
Yep.
Which is probably Dallas's 63% chance to win or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so Kyrie is patient. Maxey is so afraid he's going to get beat off the dribble. Look how low his hands are. He can show it one more time. The decision there, and we're going to do this later when we get to my player clip, is you've got to force him to do something besides shoot the three, standing still. Make him move.
Right.
And Maxey is just afraid to get beat off the dribble. His hands are low. He's giving him space, and Kyrie doesn't have to even take a dribble, and he can just shoot the three. It's not an easy shot to make, but look at Tyrese's hands. So low. He has no shot to make a play on that. You have to press up into Kyrie, especially it's a half-court situation, Jarod. You've got help behind you. You've got to make him drive into traffic.
This one's earlier in the first quarter, another Kyrie bucket.
Yeah, so I like what Dallas is. Kyrie, it looks like he's setting a screen, and then it's a simple ball screen. Replay it again. Embiid's not leaving the paint. Embiid's not leaving the paint. Dwight Powell's not a shooting threat, but Embiid is just aware of Kyrie's ability to score at the rim, and he's just hanging back. In a postseason game, they could decide to defend that differently. But in a game like this, Embiid's just not going to leave the paint. You see how Kyrie kind of motions to who is that?
Green.
That's Green. Yeah, he's like, "Come here, use me," but instead Green just throws him the ball. But they did a good job of using Kyrie as a screener on lots of possessions before they ultimately threw him the ball or someone else the ball. And it's just, that's just like practice against the air. Embiid cannot make a play. So those are 2 of the threes he's made uncontested. Tyrese had his hands at his ankles. Embiid didn't leave the paint. Those are easy threes for Kyrie.
No, it was really simple, but when you watch it, you understand, especially that first clip, right, where you said Maxey was so concerned about the drive, right? And he was crouched down, but his hands were literally, these guys got long wingspan, so his hands were almost down to the ground, right? And if Kyrie sees, it's basically clean space, right? No vision, nothing blocking the shot. Let me just rise up and pull up. And he's probably shooting 40% from three this year.
So what you have to do, and you have to get your arms up, especially like a lead hand up, be a little bit sideways. Yeah, you can't get your stick hand straight up in the air. You got to bother them without drawing a foul, right? Remember, these guys can kind of sweep through, and even if they don't, in that situation, they probably win the bonus. So even if they don't call it a shooting foul for 3, he'll get 2 free throws. You don't want to do that either. But you do have to make them think about you. Tyrese didn't. He just was so worried about getting beat off the dribble. His hands were low. That's something in the postseason you wouldn't think they'd make that mistake nearly as often. You have to get the offensive player to think about you defensively.
Man,
we have one more, right? I think we have one more Kyrie one.
It was the one more is the one we're going to show later when we're talking about your message to a player. How do I defend Kyrie Irving? And this is when he does a surge dribble and who's back.
Yeah, we'll do that later. Okay.
So. You mentioned the processing speed, right? And why the Cat wins is because they process everything faster, right?
You see it faster. Yeah.
LeBron, Chris, all the great ones, it's a much quicker recognition, and rookies often struggle, right? Because they don't have enough reference points in their brain. Maxey's a third-year player?
Yeah.
Third-year player. Okay.
He's getting extension after this season. Yeah,
so this postseason will be another set of reference points. But when we're talking about when you're playing against Boston, Milwaukee, right? Veteran teams who have you talk about Boston's a veteran team. It's so funny, but they are. Tatum and Brown are young, but this is old. They've been doing this for quite a while now.
Oh, right? My God. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals as rookies.
It's rookie season, right?
Yeah.
So this playoffs will be another important reference point for Maxey.
Yeah.
And so really when you're looking at it, David, the team that, of course, rookies or young players can make huge difference in the playoffs, but the team that has the most reference points and processes things better, right, collectively, probably going to win a series more oftentimes than not.
Well, yes, of course. So in this particular case with Maxey's play, I genuinely think that Kyrie's just better than anyone Maxey's ever really guarded. Not to say that he hasn't guarded before in the NBA. Of course he has. But you almost he's not going to make this. Like, I'm harassing him. And Maxey it wasn't like he was just standing still. He was in a good stance, but he made a mistake. You can't have your arms down. Right, I hate to admit Mark Jackson's right about something.
Hand down.
That's a good one. Yeah, and in this case, you got to have your hands up earlier, not straight up in the air, because you have to be able to slide. Kyrie could have driven still; his dribble is still alive. You have to harass him. You have to poke at the ball a little bit. I always tell defenders, make them think about you, and they can't quite focus as much on what they want to do. as what they otherwise would be able to. And so that's what PJ Tucker's great at.
Yeah.
He is harassing. He harasses very well.
Well, you know who else is good at that? And we talked about him on the TrueHoop podcast at the beginning of the week. Drew Holiday's excellent at that, right?
Yeah.
When he's on you, you are thinking about, shit, that's fucking Drew Holiday trying to poke the ball, which means I'm not thinking about whatever the play I'm supposed to be running here or the basket, right? Which is what I'm trying to get to. And that helps, right? That's a win. Okay. You famously wrote a book called Basketball is Jazz. And I feel like people often think about jazz as it relates to offense. And, you know, that would be true. But defense, you have to be coordinated and everyone has to know where they are. And that matters for jazz, too. And as you mentioned, in the playoffs or in the regular season, unless like you're really one of those locked in teams, like, and there are teams that are playing really excellent defense in the regular season who are kind of on a string, but those elite playoff defenses, they're playing jazz. Yes. Like they know whatever they're switching to, whether we're switching, whether we're in drop, whatever our plan is, we know it, we're communicating. And I think like a jazz orchestra, right? That's how the great jazz bands look. They're communicating with their play, right? So the trumpet guy knows when to come in, the bass knows when to do whatever, right? That's how they communicate. Same thing on defense, right? But the communication here is talking, right? Maybe they like slap guy, whatever they do. But there's ways in which you can communicate on defense to play jazz.
Yeah, you're reading what's going on, and so it's improv as much as anything. It's not ad lib, it's improv. I'm supposed to do, let's say I'm supposed to slide a step to my right, but that's depending on what my teammate has done. And if he hasn't reacted the way I expected him to, well, then I have to react differently. I can't, if I just do what I'm always going to do, no matter what my teammate does, well, that's very disparate, right? They're all supposed to be connected, not disconnected. And so we all want them to do what they're supposed to do. It makes it easier to anticipate. But, one of the ways I'll put it is, I may have said this to you once before, but like, do you remember the game Frogger?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that game because it was very easy for me. I didn't know back then I'm not the world's smartest guy by any stretch, but that kind of shit I could always just kind of do. And so now, and I mean this literally, we were just in New York City, as you know. I can see these busy roads, and I just see it all fast, quick. I'm the cat. My wife doesn't see it that way. And she, being smarter than me, she's like, I ain't risking my life because you think you've got to figure it out. You're getting fucking old. And she's right. I need to stop just trusting that I see it all.
Right.
Because I don't know. I can make a car might, I'm assuming, oh, this car is doing this. Well, it could suddenly change.
Right.
I don't have to improv, and I might be too late and die, literally die. And my brother Mike even said to me, we lost a neighbor to a car accident, and I have a nephew, a niece, a cousin, her daughter, her best friend died in a car accident, streets of New York City. And that was it. I'm like, honey, you're right. Hold my fucking hand. Don't let me do it anymore. Because my improv skills aren't what they used to be. I'm 58 years old. Well, these are the world's fastest thinkers and best athletes in many cases in basketball. And so they're improving on the fly all the time. So the bad defensive teams will make the one mistake, and it ripples through the other four. The great defensive teams clean up those mistakes all the time. The Kevon Looney's and Draymond Greens, for example. It's not just Draymond. It's Kevon, too. So you guys do something to the perimeter. And by the way, they're making mistakes sometimes because what the offense is doing. And we'll show you on clips. There's a little bit of misdirection. There's a little bit, oh, you think I'm going to come get a dribble handoff? Oh, I'm going back door. Oop. So now we have to react to that all the time. There's one clip I'll show you with Dallas.
Yeah.
You got to see Kyrie's face. I don't remember. It might be it's the PJ Tucker corner 3-1, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Show that one first.
All right. So we're going to show some defense, how teams maybe don't play defense so well.
Or just the way they have to read the whole thing. You can you go half speed?
Yep, I can definitely.
Because this can be really fast. Yeah. So here we have a kind of almost like a cross screen, but really Tobias is popping out. He's just trying to create room for Embiid to set the ball screen, right? And so now Embiid's he's gonna come up as Harris kind of comes off an Embiid screen. Embiid moves over the screen and now he's at the ball at the top of the key. Hold on, go back and do that again. Watch Tobias. It's going too fast. If it can go slow motion, they'll see it easier. So Tobias, you think he's coming to get the DHO, right? Yeah, that's good speed right there if it'll do it. But instead of going to James for the for Harden for the DHO, watch how Tobias will go backdoor as it plays out here. And that's going to force Kyrie to watch this. Kyrie's got to take away Tobias. See how James is moving towards Tobias for a screen for the DHO? Yep. Look how Tobias goes back to him. Look at Kyrie jump.
I saw his face too.
Yeah, you can see his teeth like, oh shit. Yeah, right. So that's improv right there. The mistake that the Mavs made is they let Tobias go backdoor. You should have forced him into the screen with James and then the DHO. And now Kyrie stays home.
David, this is so good. Like, look, I mean, we're watching it in 4 times speed. Like, Kyrie knows it, like, instantly. You see his grit his teeth, like, oh.
Yeah. So he first, if you can pause it right there, pause. Mm-hmm. Now watch when he realized, oh, shit, they're throwing it to Melton in the corner. I got to get out there. You can see his face react. Yeah. Woo! Yeah, it's so great. And then it's not over yet, right?
Right.
They do a great job. Yeah. Philly does a great job. DeAnthony Melton attacks the second box. Mm-hmm. He draws help, and then it kicks out to Tucker for the 3. But the teaching point there is the original mistake that the Mavs, whoever, I don't forget who was guarding Tobias, you can't let him go backdoor. That breaks everything down. Yeah. So Philly ran Jazz too. Mm-hmm. They get the ball to Embiid in a very dangerous spot. Embiid likes the ball to nail, which is the free throw line in the middle. He's just as dangerous at the top of the key because he can throw it to both sides. Mm-hmm. Everything's one pass away when you're in the middle of the court, as opposed to one side of the court where those long skip passes the defense can recover, right? So when Embiid gets the ball in the middle, here comes James. He's basically setting a screen for Tobias, who will use James and then go to DHO. But Embiid has an option. He might fake it to Harris, bring it right back to James. They do this all the time. James sets a screen, comes back and gets a DHO for the Embiid, then Embiid rolls. Tobias goes backdoor because the Mavericks were worried about that action, and that's what causes Kyrie to say, oh, my God, he helped great. Right. He prevented the 2-point shot,
but he's like,
shit, then he's got to go chase Melton, who then he gets beat, and he gets beat middle, which is death, and then they get the corner 3 from Tucker, which is what it's not their number one. They would love to Harris get the dunk. That's a better play. Right. Tobias uncontested dunk. Dallas did a good job defending it, and then Philly still made him pay with the corner 3.
So you talk about a couple of things there. You say defense is blackjack, right? You're not taking away everything. Yeah. So Kyrie made the right play of we can't give up the shot at the rim, right? Because that's the easier high percentage. So we cut that off. But shit, they passed the Melton. I have to now race out. Okay, I did. I closed out. Skip across the other side to wide open Tucker. Well, I mean, Tucker hasn't been great, but he has hit corner 3s.
He's a good corner shooter. Right? Has been for a long time.
In it for a long time. So you're going to give up something, right? If you can't take away everything.
No, you're trying to force lowest percentage possible. I think Melton's a very good left corner shooter. I haven't looked it up, but I'm guessing that he is. He's a very good shooter. And so Kyrie hustled. I mean, he ran hard, but his reaction was good. He took away he did 2 things. He took away the cut, and then he took away the Melton corner 3. It's not his fault that PJ got the other 3. Right. The only thing Kyrie could have done differently is try to keep Melton on the baseline. If you want to watch it again, but it's hard to do. He's taken away the 3, and now he's got to quickly slide with Melton and keep him down. That's just hard to do. Watch him. So Kyrie closes. If he can stay connected on top of Melton and force him down the court, Tucker may not get that 3, but it's just very hard to do. And Melton is a experienced, crafty guy. See, he goes baseline, and that's where Kyrie screws up. He lets him blow by him and he slaps behind. Right. That was lazy, but it's hard to do both. Right. The ideal is contest with your stick hand up in the air and then stay connected on the drive, and don't let him get back to the middle to kick to the opposite corner.
The other thing there, David, we talk about, you hear the old heads often say, oh, man, 80s and 90s, we played way tougher D than you did, blah, 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 all this, that, and the third. Whatever. And, we hate that nonsense. But the distance and ground you have to cover now because the court has, right? I mean, the court's the same size, but because of where players play now out beyond the 3-point line, that is a tax on your body, right? Because, again, Kyrie, I'm sagging it, great. Oh, shit, let me go run back out. Oh, but that was the part you're like lazy because he's like, crap, now I got to go really – force him baseline. That took a little mental effort, right? And we know when you're tired, you're going to start making mental mistakes, right? Because you're just like, right. I can't, like my body can't do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, there's so much more running. There's so much more jumping. There's so much more stopping and starting. There's so much more thinking. There's weapons everywhere like never before.
Mm-hmm.
This game last night, I mean, Embiid and Luka make some plays that you would have, if they were in the 80s, like you would have thought they were aliens. I mean, Kyrie is Isaiah Thomas, so he's better and incredible, better in terms at the rim, but they've seen little guys do that.
Right.
Come on, Larry Bird never did what Luka did.
No. I always say players from today, if they played in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they'd be on trial for witchcraft. They'd be like, what are these people doing? I don't understand this. This is crazy talk.
Yeah, they'd be the best players in the world.
Oh, as they are now.
More so than now, yeah.
So we got a Harris play and a
show either one.
Play. You want to go? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, what we're trying to show here is if you can slow it down.
Yep.
See, stop right there. So yeah, it's just a little delayed. Philly, this looks more like an 80s look. Okay, right there. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's Luka's got 1 foot in the paint. Now go back and watch almost any clip from the 80s. Everyone's in the paint. Yeah. Yeah. This is different. Tobias is not quite behind 3 just yet. So here's another Philly loves. So stop, don't move it yet. Stop.
Okay.
Go back a little bit. You'll see Harden. Harden is quarterbacking. The ball goes to Embiid. Harden tells Tobias, go through.
Yep.
He then slides over. Watch. He'll do that with his hand.
Yep.
He's telling Tobias, go through. Here comes P.J. Tucker.
Mm-hmm.
All right, freeze it just in the next second or two. You can freeze it. A lot of actions Philly runs is P.J. bringing Luka into the ball screen action because they want to attack Luka.
Yep.
So here comes P.J. You're not sure if he's going to go get Embiid or is he go getting James. Watch what P.J. does.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of ghosts.
Embiid.
He comes right to Harden.
Luka's like in no man's land now.
Right now, but now he's thinking, all right, if Harden's going to curl, I'm switching it.
Mm-hmm.
Or he's thinking, if Embiid is going to use that, maybe I'll switch on to Embiid. Let's watch what happens here. So PJ sets a good, solid screen.
Oh,
now, in a sense, Luka, no one's guarding Harden right now, but they're chasing him. I think that's
Bullock
over the top, right?
Yep.
Right. So he's going to chase it. So Luka's there to protect a little bit Embiid, right? And Powell lets Embiid go, and he is going to stay in no man's land between Harden and Embiid, which means he's fucked. You're talking about 2 Hall of Famers. Look, you can just see what's happening here. The only chance they have to make a play here is if I think that's Green can take a charge because look what Powell is.
Yeah,
he's not cutting Harden's left hand off.
Yeah.
He's dead in the middle.
Yeah.
So really Harden's got the lob or the drive.
Yeah.
Powell kind of peels off towards Embiid. Harden just keeps going and gets the easy bucket. Yeah, you can play it through now. Yeah. This is the third play.
That's the Harris play.
That's the next play. Yeah, you can show that one again now. We can show that last play with Tobias. So if you want to go back and show the Harden one because you'll see him get the layup. We haven't seen him get the layup yet. Because Powell's kind of caught in no man's land in the middle.
Yep.
Oh, that's Kleber. I don't think that's Powell. That's Kleber. And then he just muscles right through him. Yeah, that's Kleber. Yeah, Harden just kind of drives right down the middle and scores because they're worried about the pick and roll lob for Embiid. Yeah, so we can watch it again here. Yeah, so Tucker
Kleber up on Embiid. Tucker sets the so it's the same stuff they run, right? He curls.
Yeah,
Luke is deeper on this one now, right?
Yeah.
Luke is literally almost under the basket.
Right. Is this the third play with Tobias?
This is the Harden place. We get to see the layup.
What we just saw. Yeah. Yep. Right. Yeah. So he's basically waiting for Embiid, but he doesn't want to mess with Embiid.
Right.
He wants Kleber to get back to Embiid.
Right.
And so right now they have everything open really.
Yes.
Harden can throw it if he wants to. Yeah, he can throw it to Embiid in the lob, but he decides if you can let him right down the middle with his left hand,
right.
That's what Harden's going to do.
That's an easy layup.
Yeah, and they needed to squeeze in and take a charge on that, but they don't. They stay. I think that's Hardaway stays home on the shooter in the corner.
On McDaniels. Yep.
Yeah, and so Harden just has a left-hand layup. I mean, it's not an easy shot for most people, but that's an easy shot for Harden. Yeah, that's an easy. And then the Embiid roll made that happen. So here's the third one here. So kind of the same structure.
The Harris. Yeah. So the same, right?
Same exact play. That's why I put it in there. Same play.
PJ curls.
Right. Here comes PJ. I think he's coming to get Harden again. Dribble handoff again.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah. This is the ad lib. Yeah. We're going to replay the whole thing. This is all the different. Philly just runs a beautiful offense, right? Dallas has to keep improving.
Yep.
Slide over. Let's watch the whole thing, yeah. Where as the ball gets to the middle to Embiid, Dallas is in a good place. They defend the kind of the go screen that Tucker initially sets. He's not screening Powell. He's coming to get Harden.
Mm-hmm.
And then Embiid takes him right. So you're screening for the guy about to get the DHO.
Yes. Yep.
So Luka's got to talk through that.
Yep. Here we go.
That's Bullock guarding Harden.
Yep, he's chasing around the top of the screen.
Powell is kind of in charge of guarding Harden and Embiid the same way Kleber was before.
Yep.
Green is more towards the paint. Now he kind of goes away because he only went at 3 seconds. But he kind of comes back a little bit. Right. And Harden's not sure, do I have an angle here? He probably had the lob. He throws it to the wide open guy in Tucker.
Yep.
And there's 10 seconds on the clock still. There's a lot of time. So now Dallas has to scramble back out. PJ's a shooter, although he doesn't normally shoot that high up.
Right.
Kyrie probably should have been much closer to Melton because PJ's not a driving threat.
Right.
These are all thinking on the fly.
Thinking
on the fly. And so great shot fake. Luka goes for it.
Gets around
Melton.
him.
Yeah, Melton gets right to the middle of the floor. And now it's 5-on-4, really.
Everybody's sinking in now.
Yeah, you have to squeeze in. You can't give him a layup. And you see Green was kind of worried about Tucker in the short corner. And he gave up the corner three because you have to give up the three before you give up a layup. That although you could argue maybe in the postseason they would stay home on the shooter, make Tucker finish layups. I could see them wanting to do that. Remember in the Celtics series against Milwaukee, Grant Williams had 1 million threes.
Oh yeah, he had like 17, something crazy.
They made a choice. We're going to give that up.
Yeah.
I could see people saying, let's make PJ score in the short corner against us, not give Tobias the open corner three. But all that's improving based on the actions. Philly's running actions to make you think. And then as a player thinks, everyone's got to read and react to it. They're not on islands. They're all connected.
Oh, man, this is woo. And it's funny because as we're going through it, David, and like I'm going through it, it's like, ooh, but I see it. But I'm literally doing it in like 1/100th speed, frame by frame by frame. These guys got to know it and process it like at warp speed, which, you know,
and
great ones do it well.
Yeah, and even doing it well, you still go 100 points a game.
Right.
Because the advantage is the offense because of the way they shoot the ball now and the skills they have with the ball.
There's a play that Bullock missed a shot. It was a Dallas set that they ran that you liked. Ended up.
Yeah, this was
a Bullock baseline shot.
I think this was a Philly. This was good Philly defense. So yeah, look at all the different actions here. We'll play it again.
Yep.
Dallas does a nice job getting first side, second side, back to third side, back to the middle. They're doing all these things, and they end up with Luka having the ball 1-on-1 with 5 seconds on the clock. Tucker kind of cheats over to him. You really almost can't design a better defensive possession. This might have been their best defensive possession. Let's watch it again in the game. Because you force Reggie Bullock, who's just really a three-point shooter, to take a hard driving 7-foot baseline jumper over Embiid.
Yep.
Like that's the best thing. Philly's just got to help, recover out. You'll see at the end of the possession as they help and recover, PJ's cheating towards Luka, who's their biggest threat.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And every time they reset, the defense gets to reset. They switch with Harden on Luka. PJ is leaving Bullock. Look how much he's leaving him.
Yep.
Right? You'll see also Melton realizes, where's Kyrie? I've got to drop a little bit. I'm going to leave Bullock open some and make sure that you see Embiid cheating over.
Yep.
He's helping on the Luka drive. So now look what happens. Melton is kind of sinking down to make sure that Powell can't get the layup, and then he takes Kyrie. And that leaves Bullock open. PJ chases, keeps him down, doesn't let him come back middle.
Forces in the baseline.
Here's Embiid.
Yep.
The worst shot you could take for Bullock. The perfectly executed defensive possession by the Sixers.
No, that was, if you watch it in real time, you can see it because they're working hard and it's clear what they want, right? That is the end. If Reggie Bullock's got to take a forced runner in Joel Embiid's face, good job on your defense.
If he makes it, he makes it. It's the win. It's the lowest percentage shot possible. And Dallas did a great job too. They're moving and moving. Luka's a ball stopper, but he's Luka.
Right.
So he creates a great. I think the ball got deflected there.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bad pass by Luka. If it's not deflected, he might have had an open three. But that's why you get your hands out to try to get deflections.
Yeah.
Every deflection, we track them for a reason. It slows the ball down, which gives the defense time to react and recover out.
Man, there's so much, guys. There's so much in this game that these guys have to do. And even you do it all the way right. Dudes make shots anyway because they're the best players in the world. Like, as David said, you play perfect defense, still going to give up over 100 points in a game. Just
a casino would love to always win when the player has a 16 and the dealer is showing a 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yeah.
Because you're assuming that it's a 10 on the undercard, and they still might get blackjack sometimes with a 5 or 21 anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the casino's not worried about it.
Right.
The odds are there. We're going to show the one advice I give a player.
Yeah, for sure. So, we talked about this Dallas Mavericks 76ers game. We saw some great defense. We saw great offense, of course, in that game. And we said, look, you can play perfect defense, and it still doesn't matter because these are the best players in the world. David, as everyone knows, he coaches a ton of these guys. And I imagine what some of the text messages go like, playing Steph Tuesday, any advice, right? Or playing so-and-so Wednesday, any advice? And I'm sure David, buddy, with the guys who he jokes around with, good luck, right? And then, here are some points.
I tend not to be sarcastic with these players. They're already nervous as it is, but I would do that to my brothers and for you. So at some point this season, because we're talking about Kyrie, so I wanted to show you a clip for Kyrie.
Yep.
Kyrie has this magnificent ability to finish at the rim, and he can really shoot off the dribble from three.
Yeah.
And he's not very quick and fast, but his surge dribble is elite. He can go. I always call it stealing second base because I was a baseball guy. My son played baseball. The best base stealers are the guys that get to top speed within 2 steps.
Mm-hmm.
So Kyrie can be going slow. Leave it right there for a second, and then all of a sudden, boom! It's like he's shot out of a cannon. Well, that's a problem when you've got to take away his three because he can shoot the three off the dribble, but also you can't give him a layup at the rim. He's too good at that, even in traffic. Forget about no traffic. So the teaching point on this particular clip was for a player guarding. This is when he was okay. This is a Dallas game.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have priorities defensively, Jarod. So a guy like Kyrie, I don't want him to do uncontested anything. But if I have to give him a choice of a hard three off the dribble or an uncontested layup, I've got to make him take the hard three off the dribble.
Yeah.
I can't, unless time and score are different. Down up 3 with 12 seconds, take away the 3.
Right.
But this is first quarter, right?
Mm-hmm.
12-10,
mm-hmm. 5
to play in the first. Your thinking here has to be, I'm not letting him get a layup. So now in transition, as you watch play develop, Dennis Schroeder's got to be thinking, do I have help behind me? If the answer is yes, then press up and don't let him shoot the 3.
Yep.
So back it up and do it again. Anthony Davis should have been saying, I got you. I'm behind you. Get up there, whatever.
Right.
If they throw it to Bullock, they throw it to Bullock. But don't let Kyrie shoot it.
Yeah.
It
seemed like that's what Davis was doing, pointing over at the corner. It's like, it should have been also, I'm behind you, get up on Kyrie.
I got you. Get up on him, right. So Dennis should have picked him up right now, half court. Look at Dennis, keeps going backwards.
Yeah.
So that's the read. Kyrie, as soon as that defender is behind the three-point line and going backwards, Kyrie already knew I'm stopping and shooting this.
Yep.
100% read. And if you look at that last dribble he took, which I don't like guys doing, but he's doing it to even show even more of I'm coming. I'm trying to get Schroeder to keep backing up.
Yeah.
And Schroeder's really long. He almost got to it.
Yeah.
But that's where AD needed to communicate. I got you. I'm behind you. Whatever. Well, I got you. Whatever. I used to go woo-woo when I was a player to let them know where I was, whatever. I don't care what those guys do. But you have to give them something. So the rule I tell players against guys like Kyrie is when you know someone's behind you, press up. If you're not sure that anyone behind you can help you, then you've got to defend the layup and give them the 3 and hope that someone else will relieve you. It's why we tell our bigs to race in transition back on defense because they're relieving the guards from helping at the rim so they can go guard the shooters. Bigs are the reason why you can get out to shooters early in transition. They're protecting your paint for you. So they have to race, and that's why if you have bigs that can shoot the 3, you can really cause problems for the defense in transition because those bigs now want to get back to their shooters, and no one's protecting the paint.
No, this is there's so much there. So obviously in transition and teams practice. Well, I was going to say teams practice. They don't really practice in the regular season, but in the training camp and whatever, there's sort of principles set, right? When we're in transition, this is what we like to do, right? Guys fly out to the corner, etc. You do this, right? But the best players, your Kyrie Irvings, your Steph Currys, your Kevin Durant's, whoever, they can freelance a bit within that, right? So Kyrie saw Schroeder continuing to back up. And you mentioned his surge, so he's already on his back heel, right? And that's like you mentioned with the snake and the mongoose, processing speed. He sees back heel, back heel, back heel. My super fast surge dribble is going to make you back up just even a half beat more. These guys, Kyrie's little. He's not 6'7", he's not 7 feet. He just needs a little bit crack of space. Perfect. Back heel, I'm going to pull up right here. So he knew that the minute he crossed half court.
Yeah, so that last dribble, it didn't even matter if he got Dennis to keep going back. What it made him do is it didn't allow him to start coming up, because you got to respect it. You got to respect that last dribble. Oh man, he might drive. So even if he didn't go backwards, just standing still, he's done. And so that's why Kyrie did it, which is what you practice this all the time. I like to practice it with my feet more than that ball. But there's nothing wrong with what Kyrie did. He's a magician with the ball. The idea would be to hesitate a little bit. If I can draw him up, I'm going to blow right by him. I think AD being around had Kyrie probably also thinking he might be able to make a play on me, then I have to kick it out. I don't want to kick it out. I want to score, which is nothing wrong with that. You want weaponized guards. And so, yeah, Luka's the same way. Yeah. Luka's so good with the ball that he can just freeze you for a moment, just like a quarterback looking off a safety. He doesn't have to have the safety necessarily move in one direction as opposed to the other. He just needs to freeze them with his eyes. Yeah. And then very often he can make that pass.
Yeah, man. It's like what I love about it is that it happens so like fast, right? Like, again, we watched that on like slow delay, but I got it. It reminds me of the finals, the Warriors Cavaliers series, and those two finals with Kevin Durant, when in two clinching game moments, he pulls up from the right corner for three. And I remember him going through both of them, but one in particular is coming down. Shot and score. He's like, this is the shot, this is the score. Even if I miss here, we get another possession back, etc. I saw LeBron in his back heel. As soon as we cross half court and he dropped it, I knew him pulling up. Like, and it's just that, like, right, that idea of knowing, okay, this is a chess, as you say. That was your move? Cool. This is my move now. Yeah. It's brilliant what these guys do.
I just saw a tape of Andre Agassi talking about playing Boris Becker. Have you ever seen this? How he used to destroy Becker's serve. And Agassi admitted, I think after they retired, that Becker had a tell when he was going to go left. Let's say he was serving on the ad side. Ad court. If he put his tongue on the left side of his mouth, he was going to go down the middle. If he put his tongue more in the middle, he would hit it down the middle. Okay. And so Agassi must have studied tape and saw it. Yeah. And then if you ever seen the movie Rounders. When Matt Damon figures out KGB's tell about the Oreos, which is, if you remember it, when he ate the Oreos, he had the goods, right? He had the nut. When he didn't eat it, he was bluffing. Yep. So when he figured out the tell, everything changed, right? That's the whole key in this game. I tell my players all the time against the air in the offseason, you have 5 different options here with the ball. Do them. I might have trained each one at a time. Now it's like you got all 5. You can choose any one you want. Let me be back here and read you and see if I can figure out what you're going to do. Because if I can't figure it out, I know the defense. I mean, they're playing. I'm just watching. I'm looking for tells. I'm looking for, is he always doing this before he does this, or this? And then if he is, we'll smooth it out and stop doing that, right? If you're always looking right and passing left, well, as a defender, I can see that. Sometimes I'm going to look right and pass right. Sometimes I'm going to look right and pull up. So that way I don't have a tell. That's all part of this, the work behind the scenes too.
No, this is amazing stuff that you're getting to dive into here. Look, it's when you're watching basketball, it's very easy to just see the end result, right? A made basket, and you attribute that to, all right, the player made the basket, right? And oftentimes, yes, they did something great, but so many things happen in the processing up onto that basket. And it's hard in a basketball game to see it because unlike David, right? Like most of us, we don't do that all day, right? You're just kind of watching. But I'm lucky I get to talk to David. So those are the things I watch for when I watch a game. Ooh, I think something good's coming here. I don't know what, but something's going to happen, right? It's kind of cool. But this is what, when you watch the game and you're seeing different things, it's like, oh, why do they keep going to that? Why does that keep working? There's a reason, right? They do things. It's all coordinated and scripted. It's not just dudes rolling the ball out and just running up and down the court doing whatever they want, right? It's the best teams, right? Do it together on both ends of the ball, offense and defense. Basketball, after all, is jazz.
Yeah, I had a player tell me the other day that he was very he was on one of the best teams in the league. He's very concerned that his team is too basic after they run their first action, don't get anything. I mean, this team could win a championship, but he's concerned. He's a very high IQ player. He's concerned that the coach isn't demanding enough of his team when they don't score the first 10, 12 seconds of a possession and they just rely on their superstars like a lot of teams do. It's a fair concern to have. I saw that team play recently. I thought they were much better, which means the coaches saw the same thing the player did, or they talked about it in a meeting. I have no idea. Mm-hmm. If you want to keep it basic, you better have 5 Giannis's on the court, or 4 Giannis and a Larry Bird, whatever. Like the talent is too close with these teams, so the execution is a big factor.
And this is why, at True Hoop, and David talks about the Warriors squeezing out offense all the time, because that's what's so brilliant about it, right? It's not about getting a bucket in the first 8 seconds. Sometimes it does, but the constant motion will eventually lead to someone getting a great shot up, right? And that's the goal, right? It's not about that first action. All right, I ran pick and roll. They knew it was coming, nothing, and now, superstar X just go one-on-one. Like, again, yes, the best players in the world are going to beat you one-on-one a lot of the time because they're really good. But if that is all you do, I'm going to figure out ways to stop it eventually, right? But if you got constant...
to not stop it, slow it down.
Slow it down, correct.
Compared to what I'm doing is your defense.
Yes.
I just have to outscore you, right? When you're in the woods, the old Richard Pryor line, when you run into a bear, you just got to outrun your buddy.
Right.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter if you're playing bad defense, if they're playing worse defense. I just have to outscore you.
Right.
So, you got to make it as tough as possible, and hopefully you won't do the same to my guys.
Yeah. All right, guys. We hope you enjoyed True Hoop Tactics. Try to do another one of these soon. The playoffs are coming up, 20 or so games away. It's exciting. Oh, really quick, David. Golden State winning some games in a row now all of a sudden, and Steph Curry's not back yet. The time to get back on the Warriors train. What's happening?
We'll be discussing that probably on Monday. Let's see how they do this weekend. They got back-to-back this weekend.
Yeah, they played tonight. They played the Lakers, I think, on Sunday.
Correct. They're playing better defense. Yeah, they got 2 tough games here. But we may be visiting. We're down to 2 teams. The Tactic listeners will know either we're doing Knicks or Warriors this week.
Oh,
yeah. I've already done the article on the Warriors, but now they're playing better defense, so I'm gonna have to change some things.
Right.
But the Knicks have intrigued me, and so I may dive into them. We'll see on Monday.
Very good. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Take care.